The year 2020 was not just the close of a decade. It was an inflection point for people, businesses, and economies around the world. With the arrival of COVID, businesses had to rethink strategies for survival and mitigation of risk. In the retail sector especially, the e-commerce made a full-blown entry and the traditional retailers had to adapt to the new way of selling. The ones that were moderately into e-commerce had to bolster their efforts and put more investment in e-commerce to make it bigger and better. Hello and welcome to Breakfastbanter. My name is Anita and I'm the host for the show and I'm a partner at MH Consulting. With me I have Ron Howard, who is also a partner at MH Consulting and hosting the show Breakfastbanter.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Today's show is very, very special because we have a guest who's known for his leadership and his vision. And we have with us Mr. Juzer Rupawala, who is the director at Lulu Group Market, Bahrain and Egypt. And today he's going to give us his insights and his opinion and perspective about the shift in the e-commerce sector, especially with respect to Lulu Group Market. Welcome, Mr. Juzer.
Well, thank you.
Yes, welcome, Juzer. Welcome. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you,
our
Ron.
first distinguished guest. And we also need to thank you for this breakfast. At this point, I usually say to Anita, "What's for breakfast?" Looks like she's going to have some difficulty going through all of this. So what's for breakfast, Anita? There seems to be a lot.
Yes, I see there's breakfast from the Middle East. We have fresh fruit, we have croissant, there's English breakfast, and there's idli and vada, which is South Indian breakfast. I also see some more breakfast down there, but there is literally no space to fit all of this here on this table. Thank you so much, this is so generous. And I'm a big fan of Lulu food, especially breakfast. I think, Ron, this would be your first time trying?
No, I had this long time ago. These grow in UK, but I thank you for your hospitality.
No, it's a pleasure. It's an honor.
I'm thinking actually that, I'm always eating during the pod and I've got my English breakfast tea, that I might just leave it to you to interview Juzer while I eat. What do you think? Good idea, no? No, I'm only joking. Anyway.
Okay.
I expect this to be an interesting discussion and we will eat this afterwards and I'm sure that the crew will join us.
Absolutely.
So we'll get down to business, Juzer. But Thank you very much for joining us. We're flattered to have you. Thank you very much. So I read in a business news article recently that in the first 5 months of 2020, the UAE saw a 300% increase in demand for e-commerce services amongst consumers. Did Bahrain have a similar increase?
Well, first of all, Anita, Ron, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And on behalf of the entire Lulu Group, I welcome you to taste where the world comes to shop and where the world comes to eat.
Yes.
Please enjoy the breakfast. Taking your question forward, it's interesting. I was just going through some very interesting numbers. Today, the world is 54% of the world population is on internet. That itself has grown year on year. And to say that 50% of the world population using the internet is on online business right now. So we're talking about 2.5 billion people who are using online services today. Bahrain has not been at the back. Bahrain saw the opportunity, Lulu saw the opportunity, the world saw this opportunity. But let me tell you that no one was prepared for this. No one had any idea what will happen, and e-commerce just took off. Luckily for us, we were already based out. We had an infrastructure which we were scaling it up, if I may say. It made it urgent. The whole scaling up went from planning it to be in a year to actually finalizing it in 3 months. So that is where we stand today as e-commerce, and it's a tremendous opportunity. As Anita mentioned in her introduction, I want to reconfirm that businesses who are not today online or who are only offline are facing the brunt of what's happening in the market. But, this is the way forward. And I don't want to call it the new normal, this is the normal.
Okay,
Right,
that's interesting. So I've always thought that Lulu is such a shining example when it comes to e-commerce or anything in terms of new technology, or it's really such a shining example in the MENA region and in the GCC. Now that you've embarked on your e-commerce journey and all your focus is going to be on that as a group itself, do you think the consumer base, particularly in Bahrain, from a Bahrain perspective, has it changed? Have you seen them shift to e-commerce, or do you find that in Bahrain there is a certain resistance that people still want to go to the store and shop?
I think if I may answer this in two parts. One, obviously the retail segment, the brick and mortar stores are going to stay. They're here to stay, because the personal experience, the personal shopping experience is something which we all enjoy the most. It's a great relaxation for many people. It's stress busting.
Yeah.
And it's also getting always updated with what's happening in the market. E-commerce is an extension to our business, and e-commerce has diversified to customers in a way where we didn't think was possible.
Okay.
Having said that, today Bahrain e-commerce is thriving. So much so that the Ministry of Industry and Commerce also launched a marketplace last year, sometime in June. So this is where Bahrain's vision and the whole dynamics of the leadership take shape. They see an opportunity. They not only seize the opportunity, they bring in the people also to join that opportunity. So I think if you look at e-commerce today, where Bahrain is resisting it, no, Bahrain has accepted it very well. But to say that it's 100% organized, no, we have a long way to go. I must add at this point that as much as Bahrain is leading the e-commerce business from the front, as the leadership, as the ministry, the retailers per se have a long way to go. In terms of establishing e-commerce in the right manner, we've been lucky because we had a head start like 3 years before we actually saw this immediate need of using e-commerce. We were already setting ourselves up.
So that's very interesting and insightful. So the consumer base has broadened over the last 16 to 18 months. Could you take us or give us some idea of the e-commerce scale-up plan? How it was launched and how it's going now, please?
3 years back, as a group, we did a pilot run in our operations back in the UAE, and we saw great promise. We saw the consumers really accepting the brand Lulu on the e-commerce portal also. We started our e-commerce business somewhere around 2019 in Bahrain, and we have a decent operation, I must say. To scale up now, we are going in a very, very big way as e-commerce. We are coming up with our dark store, the fulfillment center for the e-commerce, which is happening very soon. We are scaling up on the delivery vehicles. We are scaling up on the logistics. We are scaling up on the SKUs which go in the e-commerce business. And over and above that, I must add this, that we want to create a marketplace for the young Bahraini entrepreneurs, the SMEs, who are always on the lookout for scaling up their businesses, because we believe, as a brand Lulu, we believe this is our corporate responsibility to make sure that the smaller brands take benefit out of our businesses. And keeping this in mind, we want to continue doing that. We're doing it at the store levels. We want to bring them at the e-commerce levels. So you'll see a lot of interesting activities happening on our e-commerce portal as we scale up.
So what challenges did Lulu Hypermarket particularly face when they had to accelerate their e-commerce efforts?
Anita, the entire e-commerce business, the big boys of e-commerce, and I don't want to name them, they were taken by surprise when the pandemic hit us, and no one was ready to scale up. No one was. We had a platform, we had a decent sized platform, we were doing decent sized deliveries. But then, the general trend or the general mindset of everyone was to stay at home, which was correct. People were advised to stay at home as the pandemic demanded us to restrict our movements to the necessities. We faced challenges in terms of managing the orders. We had a scale, we had a fleet, we had people, we had everything in place, but the scale of orders which we were receiving versus what we could deliver was not in any way manageable, not by us, by the big boys in the world, and I must say that. But having said that, it took us a couple of months to understand the business, to press the restart button, and we went ahead in a very, very strong way. And we are very proud to say today that our e-commerce platform and the Q-commerce platform is very, very well accepted in the market. The consumers trust the brand. The credibility of the brand supersedes everything else. And it separates us from whoever is operating in the region, because you have something which is very, very solid, very, very, very tangible in the business, and that is our credibility, which drives our e-commerce business also.
Absolutely, and I think it's good that you mentioned that even the big boys weren't able to match the demand that was coming in, primarily because at that point in time when COVID hit, nobody knew whether it was going to last for 3 months or 6 months. How much should you scale? Yeah. Should you scale a little or a lot more? So those business decisions were really difficult to make, I imagine. So yes, I mean, that was a great answer. Thank you for sharing that insight. So Ron, do you have to ask something?
Yes. So if every business is going online, it could well be that the market becomes saturated. I think I know what answer you're going to give me, but I should still ask it. What kind of differentiation strategies does Lulu have?
So I think you bang on that. Every business hits a saturation point, and it's up to the brand leaders to keep innovating and evolving. I think this is what is the name of the game in any trade. It's not just about retail. It's not about e-commerce. If you can't evolve, if you can't go with the market pace, you are going to be shown the way out. As Lulu, today, as I mentioned, we are scaling up our e-commerce business. We are scaling up the product range on our platform. We are bringing in a lot of brand partnerships as marketplace. We are giving opportunities to the SMEs, the startups, to place their brands on our portals and to get that advantage of our consumer traffic on the e-commerce platform. Apart from that, we'll keep hitting hard with special offers for the consumers. We'll be making sure that the customer is at the final advantage in this deal, and we'll tell you how it goes. We don't want to tell you everything right now, Ron.
Okay, well, you tell me enough. Thank you.
And I think that e-commerce provides that opportunity to create your niche target audience. So you have products that are targeted specially through any kind of online advertising and meant to be shown only that niche audience.
Yeah. So Anita, I think yes, I understand, and a customer is a customer whether whatever the basket value for us today. Yeah. What is interesting, one thing which is really taken off for us is the Q-commerce angle, quick commerce that is, and it is working very well. People want the products as soon as they can be delivered, right. And that is where our Q-commerce has gone very successful, and we are scaling that up. we do WhatsApp deliveries. We have something called the click and collect arm of our e-commerce business.
I think these strategies are absolutely practical for any e-commerce retailer and completely deployable. There's an interesting question I want to ask you. So, retail is the core of your business. So, why are you doing your own logistics? Have you thought of outsourcing your logistics to a professional or a more, more skilled, competent third party, and then focus only on your core business, which is products and, selling them on retail?
Okay, the way I understand your question is, why aren't we outsourcing our last mile? Is that correct?
Yeah, as in the logistics.
Okay, the last mile. Okay. See, there's no harm in partnering with the last mile, but we believe today that our customer is our responsibility. It's not the service provider's responsibility.
Right.
We believe that, and so in order to close the loop, in order to guarantee complete customer satisfaction, we have to do it the way it has to be done.
Right.
Rather than imparting our knowledge or rather than imbibing someone else's business, we, as I mentioned, we understand the customer's requirement, being in this business for a long time, and the comfort and the credibility around the brand Lulu always is a cushion for our efforts and our businesses. Keeping that in mind, we want to make sure that the logistics, whether it is the dark store or the fulfillment center or the last mile delivery, we want to have it as much as friendly, as much as Lulu-centric as possible.
So you are a fully vertically integrated company.
Absolutely.
When it comes to placing orders to delivery, end-to-end.
Absolutely.
That's really, really good.
Well, thank you for that answer. So one of our previous podcasts, we talked about digitalization and about how every aspect of the business can be digitalized, although I wasn't necessarily in favor of it all. So Anita has given me this question as a kind of a punishment for that. So autonomous transportation, supply chain automation, supported by big data analytics, artificial intelligence, wearables, predictive inventory optimization and warehouse optimization are likely to be adopted very soon or have already been adopted by many companies. Has the Lulu Group adopted any of these types of automation to speed up operations?
I think this is the future now. Automation is the future. AI is the future, and it's only if I may say, it's only obvious that how responsibly we use this information. Whether it is automation, whether it is AI, whether it is digitization, these are the things where the businesses are going forward, and e-commerce is a bouquet of all these things. So to say that you can stay away from digitization, can stay away from artificial intelligence, may not necessarily work in the long term. You have to adopt, you have to adapt, and you have to evolve in the current market. And this is what Lulu is. And we've been already, we are already on many such discussions where we are finding partnerships, we are finding synergies in all these areas. So yes, in short, if I answer you, yes, it's the necessity.
Thank you.
So we just discussed that the e-commerce is really scaling up in the GCC, and even in Bahrain, we see that a lot of retailers have jumped on to the e-commerce trend, and that trend is here to stay. Is there something that you would like to add about Lulu in particular and what you're doing for e-commerce?
Anita, this is a huge opportunity. This is the way forward. E-commerce is here to stay, and it's only going to get bigger. How are we different from others? As brand Lulu, what are we doing to scale up the brand is the questions we are asking internally amongst our teams. And let me make it very, very simple and easy for understanding purposes. Today, Lulu Hypermarket has got a huge credibility as a brand. We have a lot of offline responsibility, which is just translated in our online business, which makes it easier for the customer. The trust factor is there. And the most important thing today is the ease of doing business. We are investing heavily in our software, in our approach towards customers to do, how can we make your customer experience as Lulu Hypermarket e-commerce most business friendly for everyone. And you will see in the days to come, in the months to come, how we will keep scaling up and how we will keep engaging with our consumers on the e-commerce platform. But I must say thank you very much to both you and Ron. It was a wonderful session, and we are very, very happy to tell the customers and to everyone that Lulu Hypermarket understands e-commerce, and we want to we hear you as e-commerce users, and we will keep adapting as much as we can.
So thank you so much for those wonderful insights and opinion about the retail industry and e-commerce in general. I think it is going to be about enhancing the customer experience for every retailer. And it is also wonderful to note that you are a brand that listens to its customers. You want to make sure that they are happy and they continue trusting your brand. And that's what is going to make the brand sustainable in the long run. So thank you for all of those insights. And I hand it over to Ron now.
Yes, thank you very much for appearing on this show. We're very pleased to have you. And I hope that we can invite you again in future.
Absolutely.
Very, very interesting to get your perspective on all things e-commerce. We would also like to thank our listeners for staying with us and supporting us throughout these podcasts, and we hope to see you again in the future soon. Until then, we're going to let you go while we continue with the breakfasts. Thank you very much.
So if you have any comments or any kind of feedback to give us, do make sure that you follow us on our Instagram at mhconsultants_bh. And don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel because we have all our podcasts published over there. So thank you again for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you.